My name is Diego Alfonso, and I'm your host with the Florida Aviation Network. We're broadcasting live and in the clear from the U.S. Sport Aviation Expo at the Sebring Airport in Sebring, Florida. Today, our guest is Chris D'Acosta. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Diego. Nice to meet you.
Same here, Chris. Chris, I'll tell you what, we were talking a little bit before the show about what you do, and I find this very, very, very interesting. And I'm not going to divulge anything, so I'm just going to let you run with it. The note here says, unleaded 94 avgas.
That's correct.
So go ahead and do your thing. Fill us in this detail.
Okay, so for the last 70 years or more, the aviation industry piston engine group has used leaded aviation gasoline, and there's been an effort for the last 20 years or so to get rid of the lead, and my company is fully dedicated to getting rid of the lead in avgas. So we're in the process of an evaluation by the federal government for a high-octane fuel, a high-octane unleaded fuel. But in the meantime, Swift Fuels, my company Swift Fuels, has developed a 94 motor octane avgas, which is compatible with the needs of about 55% of the U.S. fleet, which includes all the light sports, a large number of, all the 80 octane requiring avgas engines, all the 91 motor. Like if you have an autogas STC, you're good to go with flying this fuel. And then there's another tranche of 91 motor octane airplanes like the Cessna 172, the Piper Seminole, and others that are also STC'd to fly this fuel. So when you add it all up, it's 55% of the U.S. fleet that can fly this fuel. But here we are at a light sport expo, and the light sports love it because they generally don't like to use leaded fuel for the lead fouling. Exactly. When they try to find gasoline that's typically got ethanol in it, they prefer not to use ethanol because it can cause problems with the fuel system. And so our fuel is really tailor-made. It's a high-octane, high being 94 motor octane, much higher than auto gasoline that you'd find at the pump. It's got a low vapor pressure year-round to prevent vapor lock. It has no gum-forming compounds that you typically find in auto gasoline, which can cause either cars or airplanes or lawnmowers or whatever to gum up if it sits for a long time. Our fuel is designed with a long shelf life, so there's no gum-forming compounds. And maybe best of all for airports, it's commercially insured for aviation. A lot of guys think buying auto gas is a good thing because it's cheap, but it's typically not commercially insured for aviation purposes, and that can cause airports and airport boards and whatever a big problem. So this fuel is tailor-made for airplanes, particularly the lower octane portion of the fleet, which, as I said, is 55% of the U.S. fleet. And we're here at Sebring. We have a fuel truck on site. We're selling the fuel. We had weather yesterday, but we had about 8 or 9 or 10 airplanes fill up in the evening yesterday, and we've got promotional cards that we're giving out to all the pilots today that want to fill up with, to refuel to go home or whatever, or fly around the airport. So we're real excited about the fuel. It's sold nationwide. We've been selling nationwide since last year in Oshkosh. We got a lot of people in Florida and California and Texas and the Northeast region and in the Midwest that are in contact with us. If you look at our website, swiftfuels.com, you can find us there or just call us, and we can get you situated. If you're not sure how to get it at your airport, ask your FBO. They'll ask their distributors, and those distributors will talk to us, or you can just call us direct, and we can work it out.
Exactly. I'll tell you, I'm a mechanic too, besides being a pilot. And I know what lead does to engines. And it doesn't matter how careful you are, how well you lean, everything else, those plugs are going to feel it at some point.
Absolutely.
That carbon is going to get in there no matter what, Now, one of the things, I had a question. They can use that straight off the truck. There's no additive to
That's correct. It's ready to go. And when you look at it, it's almost water white. It looks like water. And it's very clean, very pure kind of fuel.
Okay. Now that you say that, when you sump that, if you have water in the system, they still will separate, I guess.
Yes, it will. The water is obviously heavier, and you'll see it when you sump the fuel. So it's no issue in terms of being able to see and detect fuel versus the water.
Right.
In fact, we can put some in a jar, and I can show you that sometime, maybe when you're here.
Okay.
It's very distinguishable. You'll be able to see.
Okay. Now, what I like you to do is, we're talking about this a little bit earlier, but just to fill in our audience there, I was asked just about a week ago, not I was asked, I was told in a conversation that fuel doesn't get old. That was the term that was used.
Yeah.
I'm a mechanic, in addition to being a pilot, and I know that fuel does gets old, but I don't have any technical or scientific information about that. Maybe you can fill us in a little bit in that respect.
Okay, so all fuel is made up of a combination of different kinds of hydrocarbons, and auto gasoline in particular has got a lot of higher boiling hydrocarbons in it, and it's got a set volatility which is determined by the vapor pressure. Auto gasoline is typically higher vapor pressure. In fact, the vapor pressure is set by every state every month of the year. So when people are buying auto gas, it's regulated very rigorously by the refineries with relatively higher vapor pressures. Avgas has a very strict low vapor pressure requirement. It happens to be 5.5 to 7.1 psi, but it's low for a reason, to prevent vapor lock. Well, here's the deal. Those hydrocarbon components that control vapor pressure have the tendency to evaporate with time. So, and furthermore, autogas has what are called gum-forming compounds that avgas generally does not have, which means not having gum-forming compounds extends the shelf life. Autogas is designed to move quickly, sell it, get it in the cars, and burn it up quick so it doesn't form gums. But when you put autogas, for example, in an airplane or a lawnmower for a long period of time, it's going to gum up.
Exactly.
So the avgas does not have gum-forming compounds. Our fuel is tailor-made, designed as an avgas without gum-forming compounds, with a proper low vapor pressure to prevent vapor lock. So it tends to have a very long shelf life without gum-forming compounds. That's why when pilots intermix autogas and these other things that they go find and buy, it can be very problematic for an airplane. It can cause you all sorts of problems. We prefer that you use our fuel, obviously, because it's really a pure solution for these type of airplanes.
Now, the Florida Aviation Network main purpose is aviation safety.
Yes.
Okay. So now that we have you here, when it comes to pre-flighting the fuel, what kind of advice can you give our pilot audience out there?
Well, one is to know the source of the fuel itself. And when you buy a Swift, for example, our fuel that's here, this is a branded product, which basically means it comes pure every time. And I think that's maybe the single most important thing. I've heard people going to gas stations and not knowing what they're buying. They don't know what the certificate of analysis of the fuel has been from a laboratory. They don't even know if it's designed for airplanes. And ours comes with a commercial certificate for airplanes with a very high motor octane number, which is an aviation standard octane, right. 94 motor octane, which has a very high safety margin.
Okay.
Stop for a minute. We just lost his stream. I'm not sure what happened.
What?
We had a problem. This was going so good.
Trying to figure out why it's not fun. They lost the stream.
Yeah. Okay.
Hold on a second.
That's okay.
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe it's the Wi-Fi.
We're not on Wi-Fi.
This is an interesting conversation.
Hey, thank you.
Oh, it's terrific.
Fantastic.
We aim to please.
Even though you are a Roman.
I just want what's best for the country, you know.
Exactly. Thank you. I agree.
Hey, Diego, just take right up where you were. Try to remember. We're right back with you. Just start there.
Okay. Well, we were on the safety. Start with the question. Okay, Chris. Now, the Florida Aviation Network main purpose is aviation safety, and of course, having you here, I can't find a better person to give our pilots audience some tips and how to pre-flight fuel. You know what to look really for in the fuel.
Okay, so as I said, the first issue is find the right brand of the fuel. Swift Fuels makes a uniform product nationwide. It's always the same thing with the same certificate of analysis, same purity year-round. You know, and I've commented before that a lot of pilots, some pilots, not a lot, can buy off-brand autogas, ethanol-free autogas, other kinds of rogue products that are really not good for the airplane. And we would just advise to stick with pure ASTM certified, ASTM specified products. Ours meets 4 or 5 ASTM specifications, D7547, D7592. Those are 2 avgas specs. We meet D910 grade 80 for the 95 series grade. We meet D4814, which is an autogas spec. So we're very conscientious about the specifications that we meet in our fuel. And so light sport pilots like the fuel because it's got commercially insured for aviation, no gum-forming compounds, low year-round vapor pressure. You don't have to worry about vapor lock. And it's got a very high motor octane number, which gives you a particular safety margin for anti-detonation purposes.
Okay. Now, as far as checking, let's say I'm a pilot. What is it? One of the tips that you can give the pilot when checking the gas?
Well, obviously, most pilots, all pilots, should sump the fuel to make sure that they're smelling fuel and not water.
Right.
That's probably the most important thing. Then I would say buy from a reputable FBO. Make sure that your FBO is dealing with a brand product and not some off-brand or some non-airport related fuel. That's probably the most important set of ththings.
Exactly. And when you said to smell,
Yeah.
it's an important thing because I could smell all fuel.
Right.
You know, it is this distinct smells. It's not
Yeah.
basically the same thing.
It's not a harsh smell. It's actually a sweet smell. In fact, I'm giving a talk today at 2:30 in the forum number 1, 2:30 in forum number 1, and we're going to bring a mayonnaise jar of the fuel and let people smell it. You'll see it's a distinct smell. It's not an aggressive smell. It's a very sweet smell.
Right.
So you'll see that. Now, one question people ask me about the dye, the fuel will be dyed. The ASTM is in the midst of a rationalization of all the colors. There have been a history for 50 or 60 years of different colors used for fuel, like low lead today is blue, and they're remodifying the color scheme of a number of older fuels. And this fuel will be a new color soon, but we don't know that yet. That's not up to us.
Very good. Well, Chris, time has come. We're going to have to say goodbye.
Okay.
I really appreciate your comments, and I'm pretty sure that our audience really appreciate that. Folks, we're here at Sebring. Make it here today for the Air Show. Signing off from Sebring, Florida, Diego Alfonso with the Florida Aviation Network.